Hello and welcome to IGN Anime Club, episode 67. Yay, anime.
Yay, anime!
I'm back for a brief period of time. It's review season. I'm your host, Marina Sanchez, and joining me is Megan Sullivan.
Yo!
And Mike Mamone.
Hey.
And we have a special guest back again for your third time on the show.
Thank you so much.
Third
so
time.
happy. Yeah.
Woo.
Stephen Akana from Bandai Namco.
Yay! Golf clap.
Yeah.
Good to be
Veteran.
here.
Yeah, so glad to have you back, specifically to talk about Sword Art Online. Hollow Realization is coming out later this month on October 27th. Very excited to play that.
It comes out on November 8th.
Oh,
November
November 8th. Sorry. Grabbed the wrong
Nice.
date. But just kidding, November 8th.
November 8th.
Yeah, so very excited to talk to you about that.
Yeah,
We
super
have
excited.
a lot of questions from you guys, so thank you guys so much for sending them in. It's a sheet full. I don't know how we're going to get through all of them, but we're going to try to get through a lot of them. And if you guys were looking forward to the watch party, we will be talking about that next week, along with some of the new fall shows. So look forward to that next
Stay
week.
tuned, kids.
Yeah, but until then, let's dig into some Sword Art and also some other anime stuff. You'll see soon. So first question from Leonardo Gunzo. Is the game related to the light novels? Has he read, I'm guessing you, Steven, the light novels, and what do you think about them?
So the game's not necessarily related to the light novels in that it's not like canon story. So it's kind of going back to that kind of Aincrad, like first half of the first season of Sword Art Online. And it kind of deviates from there and it goes into like this kind of like new story. It's like they're going back to the original game, but it's called like Sword Art Origin. And it's cool because like the games have like always kind of deviated a little bit from the actual story, but in previous games it didn't necessarily have that same element of like you're trapped in a game and there's also that kind of tension of like it's a death game. This one actually kind of brings that tension back, but it's not the human players that are actually involved in the death portion, it's the NPCs. So like Reiki Kawahara like has done like a lot of different stories that are like based in like, you know, utilizing like VR, kind of like these futuristic like new worlds and like kind of looking at, well, what is reality and what's not, like in terms of like what's important to you. Just because something is alive doesn't necessarily mean that that's important. So like losing an NPC is also something that can be very important. So that's kind of like a cool thing about
So this is like an alternative universe type thing. Does that mean that there'll be new characters, or are we expecting to see similar characters like Kirito and Klein and all those people?
It's nice because it's like there's the new characters that are introduced, but then there's a lot of characters from both Sword Art Online and then also Gungale Online. Like all these characters kind of come back together, but then it seems very, very thoughtful and meaningful that they're all together in this world.
So when I first saw some trailers for this, I was like, oh, Kirito gets a new waifu. Another girl to add to his harem.
Doesn't Kirito always have a new waifu?
I know. It's like every time we see
Yui
him,
just
it's
gets
like,
so confused.
who's
She's
next?
just like, which one is that?
It's like
No,
poor
she's never
Asuna.
confused.
So it's just kind of like a Hollow Fragment where you have different characters from different online games coming together.
Yes.
Okay. So do we have to have seen other seasons of Sword Art Online or the series to understand it, or is it something that you can still play and be like, all right, we're kind of starting from the beginning, there's some context to who these people are and how they play into everything?
I think it's going to be most impactful if you've seen at least the first season. Seeing all of the content that's available, you're going to get that best kind of like, you know, when characters are introduced, there's a better impact moment. But I think you could also jump into the game and not necessarily know the previous history of Sword Art Online and still really enjoy the story, and it's complementary. So it's kind of like, oh, I really enjoyed this. I really want to go and kind of like devour everything that's about this series, which is kind of like how I am when it comes to like anime and games. Like once I find like that one piece, I'm just kind of like, okay, now I need to everything. all the things.
One Piece and also literally One Piece.
So of all the things, have you checked out the light novels?
I haven't actually read any of the light novels,
Yeah.
but I know that like, you know, there's a lot of different light novels for a lot of anime series and manga series that like I'm a big fan of, but when it just comes to time,
It's hard.
Yeah.
it's a lot of work to
Because
commit
Sword Art
to.
has like the core light novels, and it has the manga that follows the light novels and the anime, and then they also have like a bunch of spin-offs, and it's just like, ugh. there's a lot to consume if you really like Sword Art.
But I feel like, you know, that whole, like, you know how there's, like, different kind of fads with media and, like, things that end up becoming, like, really, really big. I think that the next thing for like young adult like kind of novels is like people bringing over these Japanese light novels and actually translating them for novels for people in our market to be able to read. Like you think about like, you know, the conversion of like young adult books into movies and stuff like that, and how those really like blow up and become super popular. I think light novels is kind of like the next thing that's going to become really big.
Yeah, with like every season that I look at for anime, a lot of them are adapted from light novels, and then we see more and more of those finally getting translated for the West, which is really nice. A big one that does that is Yen Press. They've been like cranking those out, and they actually just started doing the ReZero novels. I'm like, yeah, yes, please. More on that some other time. So let's go ahead and jump to the next question since we have so many. Tyrell Tomlinson asks, how long did it take to complete the game fully? I guess he's asking about Hollow Realization, about how long does it take?
Like, how long did it take to develop, or how long does it take to play?
I think it looks like how to play the game.
Yeah. I mean, this game's really, really expansive. Like, you know, aside from just like you have this kind of like open world environment whenever you leave like the town and you're going into like kind of like battle scenes. So you have this kind of like free movement, and you can pick up missions on the fly, which is really cool. And then also when you're in the towns, there's like kind of like a dating element with the different NPCs that you have. So you can like woo them and like have them join your party. And then like as you start to become more friendly, you can engage in different types of scenes, like what is it called? It's like cooperative laying or something. It's like they lay in a bed together. And
no, that was also in Hollow Fragment.
Yeah.
Or you could date your members, and you could even quasi-date Klein, which made me so happy.
No, I think that's really nice, like especially like thinking about, you know, something that's very important to a lot of gamers in the West is like, you know, thinking about kind of like that open relationship of like being able to have like, you know, boy girl, girl girl, boy boy when it comes to kind of like genders of wooed characters. And I think that, you know, Sword Art Online, it's actually really cool to have something coming from the Japanese market where it's like they really thought about like who's engaging in this content and what are things that they'd really want. And maybe they really want Kirito and Klein to be able to have just like a, you know, an afternoon where they're laying in bed together, just
so we can confirm it.
Eyes.
Relationships are a thing in this game. Yes, there it is. That was my big question. I'm done. Bye. You go play this game.
Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. No.
But because there's so much open open choice, it's really hard to kind of like quantify how long the actual game is going to be. But I mean, like it's a very, very big game.
Nice. Yeah, makes sense.
Cool.
So Berto Campos asked, how do you feel about people stuck in video games turned in anime? Sword Art made it huge, so I'd be interested in your hindsight and perspective.
I think, you know, Sword Art Online definitely did kind of push forward like a lot of the kind of stuck in a game, kind of that new kind of sub-trope to the kind of fish out of water trope, you know? And I think that you look at, there was, you know, to reference something that's kind of Bandai Namco, it's like, you know, there was Dot Hack, which was like the first.
Yeah, it's very unfair to say that Sword Art Online started this.
Yeah.
Like, you have to look back at Dot Hack. Like, if you just disregard that, then it's like wrong.
Well, I'd say like Sword Art's kind of like if you took certain elements of Dot Hack, even though Dot Hack wasn't about like being stuck in the game, but it was more like people were dying off in this game and like the mystery that was around that. But then you also like kind of think like, a lot of what people really gravitated to with Sword Art Online was that tension of like, this is a death game. And I think that looking at like, you know, some of the stuff that I was watching when I was really getting into like anime and Japanese culture, I think about something like Battle Royale, where it's like people are able to look at like something that they can all relate to, where they're like, oh, well, we all went to school, we all had these classes.
You can relate to Battle Royale. What kind of school did you go to?
Well, I mean, it's that type of thing where it's like you can imagine yourself being put in kind of like these weird situations. Kind of. I mean,
I say,
maybe not so much like, I mean, I'd hope I wouldn't be stuck in a death game and be stuck with a pot lid, you know. Yeah. But I think that the same type of attraction that people had to that, where it's like something that's fantastical and relatable at the same time, same thing with Sword Art Online. The trend, I think, is really cool because like there's all these different series that are coming out that, you know, most all of them, I think they have their benefits in different ways. Like you look at like Log Horizon, where it was not necessarily the tension of you're going to die, but you're stuck in it, and it's like you have to continue playing. Like there's no escape from this game that you've fallen into, or something that kind of is a little bit more meta to it, like Batum, where it's like they were involved in this game online, but then they get stuck on an island where they're having to recreate this game in a real life death situation. So there's a lot of different variants that I think are really cool.
Yeah, I like the ones. So we mentioned ReZero before, which is sort of our ongoing favorite right now. It's not an RPG per se. They haven't really established that, but they hint.
Yeah, it's not like he fell into a game. It's just that he is transported to a fantasy world, which is different, but also like the same, following the same thing.
He has a couple of like little things that he says that it's just like, oh no, I do buffs and debuffs and stuff like that. Like they're little hints, but it never actually says. But this whole fantasy world where now it's like people die and they have no context. They have no like, all right, here's my mage, here's my whatever, which I think is really interesting. So.
Yeah, even more so though, like if you look like Grimgar, that's more of the, we fell into a fantasy world, but this is very obviously a game translated into a world. And then they just never talk about why they're there. They're just there. And they live out their lives.
Kind of similar to KonoSuba, too. Same thing with ReZero. He just gets transported because he died. And then now he's there, and there's no actual game, but he's in the fantasy world. Yeah,
but there are a lot of, but you're right, there are a lot of really good subgenre, or there a lot of good anime in this subgenre, but really Sword Art Online catapulted it, I feel like, to the mainstream. Even though Dot Hack was fairly popular, I think that Sword Art Online took it to the next level.
Of like the stuff recently, that's definitely the big one. I mean, if you go to any convention, like just count how many Kiratos and Asunas you see. They're everywhere. Very obvious how popular it is. But with that being said, are you guys getting kind of annoyed with this kind of trend that we have, or how do you guys feel about it? Just because it is such a popular genre right now.
I'm okay with breakouts like ReZero where they take it in a different direction. I feel like there are always like 10 anime that are kind of like, meh, they play it safe. And then there's that one where you're like, this is getting intense. Like, Miranda wasn't here for this, but I was saying I was getting secondhand stress because Subaru was like, no one would help him in like episode 17, 18. And I was like, somebody help him. No one is helping him. And you get
he doesn't deserve to be helped.
Okay. Well, we'll argue about that some other time. I have thoughts. But the whole point is that for every like 10 generic, you're stuck in a world. What do you do? Oh, it's an RPG and you can't get out. Da 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 da. There's ones like Sword Art Online and Dot Hack and ReZero where it makes you think. And I like that. Yeah. But it has to be original. And that's hard to do.
Yeah, it's just like they have to have that one gimmick that really works for the show. And there's some do it like way better than others. Like I think Grimgar's was a little weird in that it wanted you to just say like, hey, there's this big mystery surrounding these kids and why they're there. And they make that a very big point in the first episode and then completely back off from that and make it like, we're trying to normalize this as them growing as a party and developing a relationship. But they leave this big mystery and never really touch on it.
Is there a second season?
No.
Because I thought there might be one.
It feels like one of those shows that they made, and they're like, hey, but if you want more, go read the manga or light novels or whatever it is.
Of course.
Like, it's the same thing with Overlord. Like, that was awesome show that I really liked. It had, like, kind of weird beginning, but, like, really fell into, like, a cool thing. If you guys don't know what it is, like, a guy, of course, gets stuck in a video game. He decides, I don't want to log out at midnight when this game's supposed to shut down, and he just stays there and gets stuck. But he's like a crazy high-level guild leader and is OP as all get out. I'm trying not to curse. Anyway, I'm just like, and so it's just really seeing that dynamic of someone who would have like absolute control over everything around him, but also not really knowing what's going on. And it has like this really not satisfying ending to the season. And so you're like, okay, but what's next? And so another.
It's like Rokka. Like I'm the only one who saw Rokka all the way through, but Rokka and ReZero have a lot of parallels where there are some parts that don't really work, and then it gets interesting. Then it kind of like ReZero doesn't abruptly stop, but at the same time, it's like I fully expected a second season because they opened up an entirely new mystery on episode 12, and then they never went anywhere with it. It's like there is going to be a second season, right? Right, guys? Right? Hello?
Still waiting for it.
Still waiting for it.
I mean, like there has to be. I mean, it's
so weird.
I don't know how far along the light novels are either, and that's always the thing, is like we could have hopefully not an Attack on Titan case on our hands where it's like not forever.
It's a long hiatus.
But I don't know, like they have a lot of spin-off light novels too, so I don't know how fast the author writes them.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know.
Anyway.
Sometimes things just fall off the radar for a really long time and then they just pop right back up, like Gray-man last season.
Oh,
right.
right.
Just kind of like, oh, wow, you're back.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
How long has it been?
Yeah, it's been a moment.
There's also this other show I forget that's really good that I like. I think it starts Noragami. Love that show, but it took like a year and a half for the next season to come out because they were waiting for the manga, and like that's just kind of like the reality of how things go sometimes.
It took Berserk 20 years.
Yeah.
Tiger Mask W 40 years.
Really?
Yeah, so the original Tiger Mask was actually aired in Japan in the early 1970s. True story. Manga's from the 60s, and then the anime's in the early 70s. You can tell because of some of the wrestlers. They work with NJPW a lot, and they have a lot of Japanese wrestlers in both shows. And I have to say that it's been like 40 plus years since the last Tiger Mask. It's really bizarre. There's just these long, dry periods.
No.
Hey,
Anyway,
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm pointing at the really cool stand next to Mike Momon here. You got to watch the video, guys, if you haven't seen what's on our desk. It's very cool. We got some Kill la Kill. We got some JoJo.
We have Saber eating a burger.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. But back to the topic at hand.
Well,
I guess we're very passionate.
That was kind of a topic.
It was, no. But yeah, so as long as we get some conclusions, we're pretty happy with the trope, I guess, or like the genre. It's kind of expanding out of fantasy, as long as it's, of course, done well.
I think the more that comes out, the more people are going to have to be really competitive in trying to make sure that they're coming out with something that's compelling and different. So, more competition, I think, can make for a couple gems that are going to pop out that'll be really good.
Like ReZero, go watch.
Did we mention ReZero? We'd like to mention it again. It's on Crunchyroll, people. Go watch it.
It's my favorite. Anyway.
All right, this is a really good question by Donnie Sinclair, which is, what discussions have they had about a full-fledged SAO MMORPG? Yeah, that's a lot of abbreviations. Actually says that in parentheses.
So Bandai Namco, any Scoop Sword Art Online MMORPGs in the works?
I mean, we don't have any news about a full MMORPG that's based in that world, but I think it's like there's definitely like an obvious opportunity for it. I think that when it comes to, managing a MMORPG, there's a lot that really goes into building out that type of world, all the server management, making sure that you have a balanced game, and all like kind of like testing to have it in one certain area and then expanding it to be a global item is it's a monumental task. But I think that when looking at content that can be quickly adapted into that type of game, Sword Art Online kind of fits.
So you're saying there's a chance?
I think there's always a chance. And I think,
there's a chance for everything.
It's something that, around the office we'll always kind of talk about like what would be cool. Like we know what we're working on, but then we also know like, kind of the fringe items that are kind of like things that could be pulled down. And it's like, we always kind of want to discuss like anything that can be an opportunity. But, hearing from people that that's something that's still of interest is really cool, because Sword Art's been around for a really long time, and it doesn't necessarily seem like there's been any sort of like series fatigue. So the fact that people would still be interested in something like that is really awesome. Plus with like the advent of like, all this VR technology that's coming out, the opportunity to do something that would be very one-to-one without the death would be something.
Well, I can't imagine there's not like a Sword Art Online experience, because a lot of developers are sort of dabbling in like the experience. I got to play the Final Fantasy 15 experience. It was a very, very short demo, but it was a cool thing where you're kind of immersed in the world. Have you guys had talks about at least doing something like that? Like you can look around this world and you can wave at Kirito. Any plans for anything like that? Just a small demo to be like, hey, let's gauge people's interest in this.
In terms of like games and like
a PS, VR experience, or
at the moment we don't have any news about anything like that.
All right.
Stay tuned, because I'll definitely stay tuned for it, because play that immediately.
The future. So we will see. Next question. So Nino Del Toro, good friend of ours, asks, according to you, who is the best girl in SAO World?
I'd have to say Yui. I know that's not a real girl, but she's just so adorable. And I think, it's a lot of people kind of like say Yui's their favorite character, and people like kind of groan about it. But I really found the moment where it's like you thought that this character was going to be gone forever, and then even though she came back, and it's just kind of diluted it a little bit. But that kind of moment was very impactful. So I really liked that kind of relationship that Yui had with both like Kirito and Asuna. It was really sweet.
Just their little NPC
yeah,
baby.
She was so small.
Their little family is cute.
Yui-chan.
Yeah. Miranda, do you have a best gal for SAO?
I mean, Asuna's an obvious pick, but I really like Yuki from Mother's Rosario arc. She's fantastic, and I love her a lot.
Was that
I
the
voted
fourth
for her.
arc?
Yeah, it's the latest arc that they had out in the anime.
Yes. Okay, I'm really bad with names. But
she's
yes,
really
I agree.
good. Yeah,
agree.
I voted for her at Anime Expo. The president.
Good job.
So, how about you?
Klein. Klein's my girl.
Klein?
Yeah, my guy. I am obsessed with Klein. Don't ask me what that is, but I have a thing for redheads, and Klein's my boy. So that's it. I mean, I feel like Asuna's like the obvious answer again. And it actually, if I had to pick
Just
best
because
girl,
she's
it
the
would
obvious
be her.
doesn't mean you don't have to pick her.
That's true. But anyway, I get to say Klein because I gotta give a shout out to Klein.
Okay.
All right, Mike.
That's fair.
You're
No,
up.
Yuki also.
Oh, also you.
Yeah. No, yeah.
All right,
That arc
Team
made
Yuki.
me tear up.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Like, I know a lot
Especially
of people,
after the previous
a
arcs.
lot of people dropped off of Sword Art Online. Like, I think
Yeah.
the first arc was the strongest, and then the second arc was,
Yeah.
The third arc got better, then the in between Excalibur arc was okay.
Yeah.
But then Mother's Rosario is like where it really came back to like, hey, Sword Art Online could be good. Like,
Yeah.
really good.
It was a short arc too.
Yeah, and
did a
so
lot.
if you liked Sword Art Online or were iffy about it, that's the one you should check out.
Mhm.
But anyway. So next question. Evan Conley asked, what Bandai Namco games would you guys like to see made into an anime? What anime would you like to see made into a video game? Not including anime or video games that were readapted into another medium.
So I was looking at this question earlier, and I was like kind of like racking my brain with like
Your
trying to feed like kind of fish through all the fandom. I would really like to see, even though it's an older anime, Read or Die video game. I think that would be super cool, like something that was like kind of Devil May Cry third-person platformer, but then like you're going through this world and you can level up your paper craft. Because all the girls that were in Read or Die were just amazing. That series just like blew my mind. Like I watched like the first episode and I was just like, what are they doing with paper? Oh my God.
Stop that!
This is amazing.
I said stop that. No, keep going.
No, it'd be great.
Okay. And there are any Bandai games you'd want as an anime?
I'm trying to
There's
think
a
like so I started going through and I was like, wait, no, there's an anime for that one.
Yeah,
Wait,
right?
No, there's an anime for that one.
Dark Souls.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say Dark Souls.
I was thinking like Dark Souls, like kind of like the anime that was done for what was
the
that?
promo short that you guys?
No, there was like that EA game, that Dante's Inferno. So something that was like kind of
Okay.
like in that type of gritty, kind of a little bit Western look, a little
I
bit.
see what you're
I
saying,
think
yeah.
that could be pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking at your game library just to pick a game, and Dark Souls and also Ace Combat would be kind of cool to see an anime based. You don't see a lot of military. I mean Gundam, but just that alone. I want to see planes flying.
yeah,
just like-
that'd be cool. That'd
yeah.
be some cool action
Like sure,
sequences.
Bako's anime came to light. What was it called?
Oh,
Third
yeah.
Girls Are
Season
Squad?
2. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Ace Combat.
Makes
But yeah.
sense.
Yeah. How do you guys?
Souls.
Yes.
I think that there's a lot of opportunity for it.
Oh yeah. The Dark Souls.
Because talk about
IPs.
death games. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a hard series. I played all the Souls game, all of them, and they're hard.
It's hard.
So
but they're so good.
I just want Bloodborne because I want there to be more like messenger merch, like just purely because of that. Because I love the messengers so much. It's cute.
Add messengers to Dark Souls.
Did you guys also do Demon Souls? I'm blanking.
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
I think that was published by
That was Atlas, right?
Atlas, yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to double check. Getting all my souls mixed up.
There are many souls.
Sorry.
There are many souls, and then you lose them all.
There are also many gates.
Yes, many gates.
Anyway.
Sweet.
Moving on.
So moving on to Ben A's question. He wants to know, will there be local co-op for Sword Art Online Hollow Realization? And can you transfer from a Sword Art game to another? Or character transfer between like the two different games?
So for Hollow Realization, you play as Kirito. So there isn't really a way to kind of like bring your character over from something like Lost Song. And then there is co-op for it, but it's online co-op. Because the way that like kind of if you look at like any of the like promotional assets that we put out, you can kind of see like how the the UI doesn't necessarily lend to two people on the same console to be able to play it, because like you have all of like your hotkeys at the bottom, and then it would be kind of a bit of a cluster to have.
So the few times I've played that, I could not imagine having a split screen co-op on that. It'd be a nightmare, because we would be like, which screen are you picking? Which ability is that?
And then even like the type of gameplay, I think it lends really well to like a cooperative experience. But it's like you think about like some games where it's like they do side by side or they do top over bottom, and it's like everything gets really condensed, and you really want to get a better view of the landscape while you're playing the game.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It makes sense. Even though I miss local co-op on a lot of things, particularly racing games. What's up with that? Other than Mario Kart, what happened to local co-op?
Well, so like to deviate a little bit from anime games, but a game that we recently put out. So it's Pac-Man 256, and it's like a port of like the mobile experience, which was single player, but then on the console, you can play up to 4 people at the same time. I've been playing this with my friends at home, like, constantly. And it's, like, my favorite, like, cooperative game right now, because, like, you just go through, and it's Pac-Man, but you can play with multiple people, and there's all these power-ups, and it's a really cool spin on a classic kind of experience.
So this is local co-op. So does the screen split 4 ways or just 2?
It's a single screen. So you have to also think about where the other... like your other players are, because if you start going too far forward, then there's like glitching that's like kind of chasing after you that keeps you moving forward, and like you can actually get someone dropped off inside of the glitch. So you actually have to think about how you
No, I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because my siblings and I drunk played Pac-Man Championship Edition DX a couple of years ago, but there's no way to play local co-op, so I was like, we need a Pac-Man game where we can all be on screen together. Now I know.
Like my old school like Pac-Man jam was the Pac-Man Versus that was on GameCube, because like you could play with 4 people on the controllers, and then the person who was Pac-Man was actually on like a Game Boy Advance, so everyone else is like a ghost and they're looking on the screen. You just see like small little areas, so it was this kind of cool multiplayer experience, and I was just like, I really want more like multiplayer Pac-Man, and 256 is just super awesome.
Nice. So. Good plug for that. Good segue. All right. Moving on.
So Nick Rose asks, what can I do to avoid getting trapped in a game? Asking for an unfortunate Japanese friend trapped in a game called Sword Art Online at the moment.
So I'm trying to think, like, you don't want to be like drinking like soda next to your computer, because then like it spills on your keyboard, and then all the sparks come off, and then it like sparks on you, and you get pulled inside of your screen.
So don't drink soda.
Yeah, don't drink soda at your computer. Don't feel like this world doesn't have anything to offer for you, because then the other world will pull you in. Yeah, I mean...
don't die of fright in front of a car when it's stopping and accept an offer from a goddess to get transported to another world. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
If you get any strange devices delivered to you and they glow, be careful. If it's like a little one, like a digivice.
Like a digivice.
Don't
you may be destined, so sorry.
Or stand around in a convenience store just looking at magazines, because apparently the most mundane things can pull you in.
I mean, if you get summoned, you're out of luck.
Yeah, if you're summoned, sorry. That's it.
You've been chosen.
I guess VR is a thing coming up, so don't be the first one to play.
Yeah.
Maybe let other people test it for you.
It's called Nerve Gear or whatever it is in Sword Art Online. I want to avoid that one until other people test it out.
Yeah, so sorry for your friend.
That's a good question, Nick.
Joseph Michael Fox asks, here's a question. How can we help to get more Gundam games in the West?
Ooh, yes.
So, we recently put out this past July Gundam Versus, or Gundam Extreme Versus Force for PS Vita, and that's a port of the Arcade Versus series. I think that the best way to really, help bring more Gundam games is, really advocating for, the type of Gundam games to your friends, letting them know like, hey, there's these new games that are coming out. It's really cool. All the Gundam games have some sort of element of like a multiplayer kind of cooperative experience. So it's definitely series that it's really fun to play with your friends. So if you are a Gundam fan and you do have any of like the Gundam games, sharing it with your friends and having them try it out and find out more about Gundam. Because I think a lot of people just don't, if they're not into Gundam, they just don't know where to start, So that's kind of like the fun of being like a, big anime otaku is that like you have this kind of like arsenal of stuff that's like really dear to you, and then you get to share that with all of your friends. So making sure that you don't forget about Gundam when there's other really cool stuff that's going on. Gundam always has a lot of cool opportunity for people. So just getting people involved in the brand itself.
Yeah, go out and support your Gundam.
Yeah, it's kind of like how a bunch of the Digimon games came over, right? It was just like crowd, I guess, petitions and messages and a lot of vocal people about the games, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, when it comes to like all of our different like social channels, like, you know, we're always listening to all the feedback from all of our fans, whether it's like, you know, positive and negative. I think that the positive stuff is really great to hear and it's really encouraging, and I think the negative stuff is also really good when it's constructive, you know, because we look at it and it's just like, you know, that can be really descriptive of like, you know, well, what are some things that we can do to accommodate this voice, you know? So yeah, just continue to let us know the things that you like and the things that you don't like.
All right. Awesome. Matthew Evans. We know Matthew. He's a big contributor to our Facebook group, which you can find at
facebook.com/group/IGN Anime Club. IGN Anime Club, the official group.
Boom.
Join it.
Yeah.
So his question is, which video game would they like to be trapped in? Also, Grimgar and Overlord are my personal favorite trapped in an RPG anime. So what video game would we all love to be trapped in forever? I added forever. I don't know why.
I'm gonna say forever.
Yeah, forever.
That's
Right.
a long time. But like, what if I get a break? That's really hard, right? Because there's so many great games that I love so much, but also scary games that I would not want to be trapped in. 'Cause it's like,
exactly.
what would you do?
I just started thinking about like, well, if I was to be trapped in something, like what would be good. So I'm like, I don't know, like Cooking Mama, because then you're just eating all the time. Like
That's a good one.
That's a very good one.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of fun, happy things, because all my favorite games are like Borderlands and Final Fantasy,
right?
and things get
I don't want to be trapped in Street Fighter.
Or even like something
Mortal
like Animal
Kombat.
Crossing, where it's just like
Yeah.
I
Good one.
love Animal Crossing, but if I had to live it, like I don't know if I could handle doing all those mundane tasks. It's just like, oh, I gotta catch
What, you don't
more
want
bugs.
you don't want to fish all day?
You have to pay Tom Nook.
I just like design
Endeavor with
clothes.
him.
the whole time.
Maybe Stardew Valley.
That would be a good one. You're just
Oh.
like you just have a farm and you're like really successful. Probably.
And you've
That's
got
a
you
lot
got
of
your
work.
Yeah, you get
Farming is not easy.
it's not easy at all in that game. You work your butt
In
off
real
for a
life.
while, but then you've got all these choices of whoever you want to marry.
There's some magic. So that's cool.
There's magic. You can do all sorts of neat stuff.
So I've been playing a ton of Style Savvy recently, and
Yeah.
that'd be a good life. That'd be a really good life. Like you got your own store, you have your own line, you get to be a model, and you get to do fashion shows, and everybody loves you, and you get free samples of every all the clothes that you buy for your store. So it'd be a good time.
Ooh,
That does
No
sound
Man's
pretty
Sky.
nice.
I'm the only one playing No Man's Sky left anymore. It's yes, 2 people are still left in the universe.
I maxed out all my slots except for my multi-tool.
Whoa.
So
What is your multi-tool at right now?
I think it's at 22.
I'm at 24 and I can't get past 24, so I don't know if I already
think
maxed
24 is
mine
the
out.
max.
All right, well then that's it for me, folks. I maxed
Done.
out my multi-tool. I
Off
am
to the
done.
center of the universe.
Off to the center of the universe. But yeah, I would do that because it's like, if you play it right, you can just chill in your spacecraft, float over some things, befriend the local populace.
People were hating on that game. I felt so bad. Like, I mean, when I heard about it and I saw the first video, like I just fell in love with it, and I was like, okay, just shutting everything down. I'm not going to read anything about it. I just know I get to discover planets and I get to name my planet, and it's perpetual throughout this online universe.
Yeah.
Sold. You
Yeah,
know?
I
And then
just-
it's like it was beautiful. It was fun. It's really relaxing, just like mining gold. Like, you know.
Yeah, and you can jetpack everywhere. I mean, I understand people's complaints about false advertising a little bit, but you know what? I always knew it was going to be chill in your spacecraft, explore and chill. That's
I mean,
all
it's
I
not
want.
like they ever showed anything else.
Yeah,
so
I'm like, I don't know.
they
what
just
people are
showed you
expecting,
flying
but
around. So
I was like, I'm cool with it. I'm down so that I could be trapped in that game.
I just don't know. Like, people are their expectations were just so huge for it, and it's like when I jump into the game, I'm looking at like how the random like generation for like all the different like, you know, animals and stuff, and I'm just really fascinated by like how this small group of people put this like
Yeah, it's
beautiful
like
game
10 to
together.
12 people came
Yeah.
up with a bunch of planets and kangaroo dinosaurs, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Great dinosaurs.
Anyways, that's my
Same as some of those-
evangelizing No Man's Sky.
The
2 of us.
weird,
Very true.
the weird. I've seen some like weird dinosaurs people see. It's just they're really funny.
Yeah.
They're
They just
hilarious.
don't make sense.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you live?
And you have bouncy plants.
Bouncy plants?
Oh, yeah.
Bouncy plants that look like kitchen gloves.
I ran into like a sack with an eye that just bounced around. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna name that.
Yeah, that's cool. You get to name stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm easily amused. Is the moral of this tale?
Wait, Mike, what do you want to be stuck in?
I like how everyone's going the safe route, like a place they don't want to die.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
yeah. I would love to be trapped in the Mass Effect universe.
That's what I was thinking too. Like,
Ooh.
but
That's a
also
good
it's very scary because like
That's
the
true.
end of the universe.
Well, it'd be on the
could
far end of the universe.
happen for you.
Well, actually, no, I might still.
Oh, but so like you talking about like Andromeda, or are we talking about like the current Mass Effect universe where Shepard's still trying to save things and everything's in perpetual war and
yeah, let's
destruction?
go with Andromeda. Where everything,
I mean,
when
we
all
also
that's.
don't know what's happening there
Yeah,
yet,
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But maybe that mystery is a good thing.
Yeah.
I almost said
Andromeda's
Dragon Age and then because of Alistair, and then I remembered I was like, yeah, but things are all jacked up in that world too.
Yeah, but maybe not. I would say not as bad as Mass Effect,
That's true.
where everyone's like gonna be wiped out for sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe I don't know.
I don't know. I love you, BioWare, but it's hard to say things in these games.
It's like, what if we just stay in the safe, easy, fun
I know,
places where
right?
you're the star?
Like
it's like
SimCity.
it's like, well, who am I in this game? Like, I mean, you know, I think like I'd love to live in the world of Bayonetta, but if I'm
Ooh.
not Bayonetta, then what am I?
Oh yeah. No, you're
Yeah.
you're just in the town.
I'm just like there. I'm just like, oh hey, whoa,
I remember this NPC in like
hair clothes. That's cool.
yeah, The Adventures of Link or whatever, like in Zelda 2, where you go to those towns and then those girls are walking by and they're just going back and forth with like baskets on their head or whatever it is. I can't remember, but yeah, you get to be one of those NPCs who just walk around and
just
say
paces.
hello.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if I'm a creep in Dota 2, that's a bad time.
Oh man.
So
no.
Just go straight. Nothing
yeah,
else.
you gotta be a hero. Oh
Yeah.
no, don't
Town-
go straight.
a
Run
town
back.
NPC would be safe for me, preferably a town that doesn't get like blown up or anything by other characters.
That's
but-
fair.
So Tom McGregor has a good question following that up. How about which game you guys would least likely to be trapped in, and how quickly would you die? And also want to add on, how would you die?
Oh god, good tack on.
So, because I was looking at the one earlier where it was talking about like what Bandai Namco game would you want to see made into an anime, I kind of was like laying that into this question, and I was just like, I would really not want to be stuck in Mappy.
Oh no.
Just because like I would die instantly because that game is just very confusing. Like I would die from a door or something, or falling from something. Like it's just the game is bonkers. But when you watch someone actually play the game really skillfully, like I'm just like, this is crazy. Like put that on like, you know, one of those like stream charity things and you know, just have them go to town. But Mappy would be a bad place to be.
I'd say Boletaria. I think I'm pronouncing that right, from the original Demon Souls. That place is scary, challenging, and depressing. Like the ambiance in the original Demon Souls is really, really good because there's just nothing there but like death and grim and destruction, and everything kills you. And there are no save points the way there are in these other Souls games. So it's really, really difficult to make any headway. So that would be my pick.
How would you die?
Everything kills you in that game. I wouldn't even know where to start. Like your very first, like the hardest part is the tutorial phase. That's actually one of the hardest levels. So literally the first enemy killed me every time. I rage quit that game the first time I played it because I couldn't get past like 2 skeletons, and I was like, screw this game. And I went back and I figured it out. But yeah, everything in that game kills you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is probably obvious, but Mortal Kombat. I feel like if I just walk down the street, someone's gonna challenge me to a fight,
Oh no.
and then I'm just like, oh god.
It'd be like a horrible fatality.
Just getting hit with like
No.
icicles and I don't know.
Unless I do a
saws.
babality, which would be kind of cute.
Or friends.
That's true.
Or yes, that's true.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Dolls.
Yeah.
They're yeah. And then I
there are
walk,
some
and then I
positive
crawl to the next area, and then I get challenged again.
That's true.
Yeah.
I would have to pick Silent Hill, and I would die
Oh,
immediately.
man.
That would
Ooh.
be terrible.
Like really any horror game, I just be there and die of a heart attack.
would
Like
just-
I just have a panic attack. And
Just
just
fetal
kill
position
over.
in the corner for like the rest of the night.
Yeah, like you're like, yo, you gotta continue on. It's like, no, I
Yeah.
will sit in this box until something eats me. Like,
Oh,
just
no.
don't. No, thank you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
there
That's
you
not
go.
every Gundam.
Those are the worlds you don't want to be trapped in.
So moving on to Nathan Butters has our last question. So do we guys think that the trapped in the game genre will expand or decrease over the coming years with the expansion of VR technology? And will VR tech help expand the genre in any way?
I think VR can definitely like create new kind of experiences, whether it's one that you're actually engaged with, like you're playing, or ones that are kind of more the, VR is very new, so I think that there's going to be this kind of like bridge point between like, immersion in kind of something that would have been more cinematic, something that you just sit back and watch, but you're actually kind of engaged. You can possibly like look around in it, but everything's kind of still scripted, so you're not really engaging with it. So I think there's a lot of opportunity with VR kind of expanding that kind of idea.
I think if anything, it could be a good chance for us to have like more of those experiential VR things with like anime properties that take place in VR, just because that makes sense for them to be there. So hopefully we will see some more of that, since there's so many services trying to jump in on that. I think like Hulu's on VR, like everything's on VR, like, sit in like a fake theater and watch something that you like.
Oh, yeah.
But I think, seeing those experiences would be really good. You guys got any opinions on that? We good to move on?
No, I totally agree.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's exactly what's going to go now.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, now that we've answered the questions, we're going to go to our last thing before we head out. So what are our favorite stuck in a video game anime? We've talked a little bit about it, but like, what are your go-tos? Like, what's the one that you would recommend to everybody?
There's a lot that I have been recommended and want to check out. Like I've heard of Log Horizon, Overlord. Yeah. I haven't even finished .hack, and I imagine there's a lot. But yeah, I mean, as of right now, like SAO is just like at the top, right? It's one of those that everyone just started watching, and I didn't know anything about it because everyone kept talking about it. I was like, I'm gonna check it out, and then the first season, amazing, So definitely, as of now, anyway, until I watch these other ones, SAO.
I have a soft spot for .hack, so it was like the first anime that introduced me to this whole stuck in a video game genre, or at least what happens in the game affects you in real life kind of thing. I got to give a shout out to Grimgar, just because I liked the way that it handled its material about kids who are trapped in a world and how would they really react. Like, oh, you go fight, imps and goblins, but in games, it's super easy. You go fight slimes. What if you actually came up against something, you actually had to kill it? How would that traumatize you? How would you feel knowing that that's a real living creature and it wants to live too? Like, it took a different psychological aspect that I really appreciated.
Yeah, also with them having to make money. Like, that they didn't just come into this world well-equipped. Like, they had to form their own party, and they had to go learn their own traits and find their place in the party and work together in order to survive.
Yeah. So it had its pacing issues, but overall, I loved the idea of it.
It's also very pretty.
Yes. Oh, it's very watercolory. That's not a word, Megan. It has. Never mind. It's really pretty.
Watercolor.
Yeah. This is really hard because there's a lot of ones that I do like, and if ReZero counted, I would say that, but it does not count because it is not. They're not stuck in a video game. Like, to make that very clear. So for me, it definitely comes down between Overlord and Sword Art, but I guess I would have to kind of go more towards Sword Art just because it has a little bit more of a conclusion. But it's also, like I said, torn because Overlord just really funny, and I really enjoyed all the characters in it.
The last battle scene in Overlord was really
Yeah.
awesome. He's like preparing everything. And he just starts like throwing out like all these things. Like, I mean, like, because it didn't have. It had the undeniably, like, there's the game elements, but then it was really kind of, once he's stuck in this world, it wasn't so gamey. Like, it's not like he's like pulling up like HUDs and stuff.
Right.
But kind of.
Yeah. I also just like that they never showed him Among Us face. Like, that we don't know who he is. He's just this big skeleton guy.
But I like the two voices. It's like he has this inner voice where it's just like, okay, this is who he really is, and then he has like his outer like, like
gravitas.
Deep,
yeah, which I also like that kind of goes away over time just because he's becoming more immersed in this world, and that's more of who he's becoming as opposed to who he is outside of it. Also, another shout out, just because we haven't mentioned it at all, is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, which I loved, even though
that was super good.
Another thing where I think it's going to be like, hey, go pick up the light novels. You're not going to get any more of this, maybe.
I feel like that one's going to like resurface within the next like year and a half.
Yeah, like Hestia was so popular. I don't see how they wouldn't bring her back.
Yeah, she had a lot of merchandise associated with her, so I can't imagine that they won't.
Yeah, that one's one that did an interesting take on taking all of the standard RPG elements and putting it in this world where that's just normal life, and it's not like here's HUD. It's like no, this is just part of magic. Like you have like these skill sets that level up and stuff, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Also, Accel World. I don't know if you guys have heard about it. And also, isn't Sword Art having like some kind of collab?
Yeah. So yeah, we had a lot of questions about that, but. Do you care to say anything about Accel World and Sword Art Online collaborations?
Can't really talk about it.
That's what I thought.
But I love Accel World. Like Accel World was absolutely amazing. I have so many like Kuroyuki Hime like statues at home. Like it was just like she was just like a dreamy character where it was like, you know, you're watching it like episode 6, you're just like she is going to be terrible. She's really just like got a fake facade and she's really just like using him, and then it was like, oh no, you're really genuine. Like when she started getting all jealous when he was like talking to some other girl and she's like running away like really quickly. It was just very, very cute character development that felt different from everything else that was going on at that time. Mm-hmm. Even though it's not stuck in a video game,
right.
Yeah.
I really, really like No Game, No Life.
I was like, we had to bring this one up because I like just wrote it down. I was like, we haven't talked about this at all.
I mean, that one, you're stuck in a world where you're forced to play games. Like, I think that would also make like a really cool video game. Like, you know, it's like an RPG, but then like you just take like a bunch of like a party game where it's like a bunch of different like mini games that you have to do to actually battle people. Like, you know, you have to do tic-tac-toe or checkers or something.
Yeah.
Like battling someone.
It would also just crazily stand out because of the colors.
Yeah.
It is ridiculously colorful. If you've never seen anything from No Game No Life, I don't know how you would have not seen that, but it is just so pretty.
A lot of pink, a lot of yellow.
I like it.
A lot of pastels.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right.
Well, Stephen, thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank
and
you.
Where can people find you on the internet?
So I'm not like the most internet active person. So I would definitely say, you know, follow us on, you know, Facebook, Twitter, Bandai Namco US. You know, that's the best way to find out stuff that Bandai Namco is doing, and anything that I couldn't talk about. Hopefully you'll see information about that through our social channels. So
Cool.
Sweet.
Cool. And then you guys, what are y'all working on that you want to plug for this week?
I'm trying to put together a couple of features. I'm not sure if I can talk about them yet, but if you want to follow me and all my weird ramblings about anime and wrestling and anime wrestling, wrestling anime, that's the same thing. You can follow me at Megan, MEGHAN_IGN.
Okay. For me, I'm not really particularly working on anything right now, but before I forget, 20 years of gaming for IGN. We have an event, house party, on October 15th at the Village in San Francisco. It's the event's on Eventbrite.
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah, so I don't know the URL, so look it up.
But just go to our Twitter. We've been promoting it.
Yeah, we've been promoting it everywhere. So yeah, check it out if you want to meet us. Not me. I'll be there at work on a Friday for the tour. But if you want to meet everyone else,
Club.
they'll be there. They'll be there Saturday.
Yes.
So
yeah. 2-for-1 deal.
Exactly.
You can buy your tickets, come meet all of your favorite IGN eds, come party with us. We hold sick parties. They're always lit.
Oh yeah.
I'm not even just saying that. Kirsten Slater gets it done.
Yeah, she's very good.
Yeah, but you can follow me at XPMNMs and, you know, talk JoJo, One Piece, all this stuff.
And then, of course, you can find me at Havoc Grows, and that's Havoc with a K. Right now is Inktober, and I am actually writing a story every day, just like a short story about a witch, and then the witch changes every day, since I can't draw. So you can follow me to read those. And also, I am working on, or I guess we just published everything you need to know about Gears of War 4, and I wrote that up. So check that out. And then, of course, I'll be working on the Gears of War 4 wiki very soon. So please support me in that endeavor and click on the wiki, and I will help you find all the collectibles. So, yeah. Anyway.
Very busy.
Yeah, so that's all we've got for this week. Again, thank you so much for joining us. It's always great to have you on. And we will see you all next week.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.